Yeah, okay lang. Nadaan lang naman sila. Hi, you're watching Rappler, and in the next 3 weeks, over 17,000 soldiers, mostly from the United States Indo-Pacific Command, will be participating in war games or military exercises across the Philippines, specifically the northern and the western parts of the Philippines, alongside soldiers from Australia, Japan, France, Canada, and even the United Kingdom as part of Balikatan 2025, or the yearly military exercises between the Philippines and the United States. Hi, my name is Bea Cupin, and I am in Camp Aguinaldo, where a few hours ago, the Philippines and the U.S. officially kicked off the 40th iteration of Balikatan, or Balikatan 40 2025. Ano ba itong Balikatan nito? So as I mentioned, taon-taon nangyayari itong Balikatan. Kumbaga ito yung parang one of the major events between the Philippines and the United States Armed Forces. Maraming mga joint exercises nangyayari sa Pilipinas actually across the entire year, but this would be the biggest and the kumbaga highlight, the centerpiece of military to military drills between the Philippines and the United States. Now, as in previous iterations or in previous years, even last year, the year before that, yung isang emphasis sa purpose ng Balikatan is interoperability, or yung ability ng US at ng Pilipinas, and in this case, countries like Australia, Japan, France, Canada, and the UK to work together in the case of different scenarios. Pero this year, merong emphasis both US and Filipino military planners on the importance of being ready in terms of working together, but also in terms of responding or implementing plans that the Philippines and the United States had actually made in previous iterations of the Balikatan. So in a previous press conference, again, with military planners from the US and the Philippines, yung sinasabi nila yung mga drills or yung mga exercises na mangyayari this year in Balikatan are kumbaga from paper to ground version ng mga plinano na dati ng US at ng mga ng American and Philippine forces in previous versions of Balikatan as early as 2020 daw, parang pinag-uusapan na to at pinaplano na ito. Yung sinasabi nila or yung buzzword na baka marinig nyo, not just in this recap, no, but even in other media reports and even in the AFP from the Indo-PACOM of the US, is that the two countries, alongside their allies or alongside other participating countries, will be implementing a full battle test. Ano tong full battle test ito? Pag-uusapan natin yun mamaya. Pero kanina kasi, tinatanong yung US and American and Filipino generals, specifically Lieutenant General James Flynn and Major General Francisco Lorenzo of the AFP, kung part ba ng scenarios or part ba ng planning ng Balikatan 2025 yung Taiwan invasion scenario, or China forcing what they say is a unification by invading Taiwan. Now, the two generals understandably avoided or initially avoided the question. Later on, they denied outright or they said outright na hindi kasama yung Taiwan invasion scenario in the Balikatan 2025. But all you need to do really is to see kung saan ba nangyayari yung mga drills na ito. Now, I have with me as props and as my guide, the media guide for the Balikatan 2025. And just to go through where these events will be held in the Philippines, no? We have events in Zambales, in Palawan, West Philippine Sea, Cagayan, and Batanes. So emphasis on the last two provinces. Cagayan and Batanes, those are provinces that face the Taiwan Strait up north. In certain cases, mas malapit pa nga yung Taiwan kaysa sa Manila, sa kanila, no, by plane, ganon. So if you look at where the drills are taking place, you see where or kung ano yung mga na-identify na threat ng both or na scenarios ng both Philippine and US forces, which is of course the northernmost, so Taiwan Strait, and the western side of the Philippines, or the West Philippine Sea. And in fact, these are two flashpoints or areas of concern in not just for the Philippines but in the greater Indo-Pacific, no. If you're going to talk about elevated tension, so West Philippine Sea, I'm sure you've already seen this in the news, no. Near daily occurrences of harassment at the hands of the Chinese Navy or the Chinese military and even the China Coast Guard towards Philippine vessels, whether it be a civilian vessel or a military vessel in the West Philippine Sea. In fact, this morning, naglabas ng statement yung Chinese Navy claiming that they shooed away a frigate of the Philippines in Scarborough Shoal, again in the West Philippine Sea. Also, there's the Taiwan Strait tension. A few weeks ago, right after, around the same time that U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was in Manila for his first ever visit to the Indo-Pacific, China conducted drills around Taiwan, which of course was a source of concern for many countries, including especially the United States. So if you talk about that, parang it's easy to identify kung ano ba tong source of tension, kung ano ba tong iniisip kumbaga ng ating military planners, even if you don't want to say it or they cannot say it out loud. Again, speaking of Pete Hegseth, or the Defense Secretary of the United States, a few weeks ago, he came here, kumbaga, to lead up to Balikatan 2025, and he said the quiet part out loud. He said that, kumbaga, deterrence through allies, through partners of the United States, of the Philippines, is especially important given the threats from, quote, communist Chinese or communist China. Kanina naman, sinabi ni General Flynn of the United States that Balikatan is about not just preparedness to deter or to avoid escalation of tensions, but also the preparedness of the U.S. and the Philippines to fight together should the need arise. Now, interesting yung pag-echo nga ng mga, or pag-echo ng how Philippine officials sometimes or tend to echo what U.S. officials have said before. Now, in the U.S., the battle cry of U.S. President Donald Trump, which is echoed also or repeated by Pete Hegseth, for instance, is peace through strength. Ang sinabi kanina ni AFP Chief General Romeo Bronner, peace through preparedness, yung isang goal ng Balikatan 2025. Expectedly, or we do expect China to react strongly to the upcoming war games. After all, another highlight, or at least yung parang aside from the idea of a full battle test by the Philippines and the United States, Balikatan will feature a lot of notable assets by both the Philippines and the United States. Previously, in-announce na rin ng US na they will be sending the Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System, or the Nemesis. That's one of their newest technologies under the US Marines. It'll be sent to the Philippines. Generals from the United States or military planners from the US declined to disclose kung saan i-deploy yung Nemesis, but we can imagine dalawa lang naman yung pwedeng ipag-deploy niya, either north of the Philippines or west of the Philippines. Aside from that, the U.S. has also deployed the Marine Air Defense Integrated System. Again, these are two relatively new systems that integrate into yung archipelagic or territorial defense idea for the Philippines and its ally, the United States. The Philippine Navy will also be conducting live fire testing of a Sea Star anti-ship missile, as well as the MBDA Missile 3 very short-range surface-to-air missile, also the Rafael Spike Enlo short-range surface-to-surface missile. Isa ring noteworthy na asset na makikita natin sa Balikatan will be the High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, or HIMARS, although we've seen that in previous iterations of the war games. The Typhoon, the Typhoon system, the mid-range system of the United States, although hindi siya explicitly part of Balikatan, we do know for a fact that it is still in the Philippines, much to the chagrin of China. Hindi rin dinisclose ng military planners kung ano exactly yung role ng Typhoon or Typhoon during Balikatan 2025. But again, we all have to understand this, no, in the greater aspiration of the Philippines and the Philippine Armed Forces of Territorial and Archipelagic Defense, now that they're trying to implement yung comprehensive archipelagic defense concept nila, or parang embodiment ito ng shift ng military from internal to external defense, given the tensions in the West Philippine Sea and in nearby waters around the Philippines. So again, Balikatan 2025 is happening, well, the kickoff is today, but it's happening up until 3 weeks from now, just 1 week before Election Day in the Philippines. A lot of things happening in Palawan, Zambales, Cagayan, Batanes. Around the same time, a lot of events will actually also be happening here in Aguinaldo, sa GHQ, yung mga tabletop na yon, yung mga exercises na digital, or mga digital na hindi na on the ground na mga exercises, but also quite important for both the Philippines and the U.S. militaries to work together on those aspects as well. We will be giving you updates. We won't be training all of the exercises, but we will be giving you updates as the exercises occur. Again, all throughout the Philippines. Keep it on Rappler. If you want to get updates, actually, you can download the Rappler app and go to the Security and Foreign Affairs community channel. You can talk to me there. You can talk to other editors, reporters of Rappler as well, members of our community also. Share information or share their thoughts there. But we'll see how Balikatan unfolds and what things Philippine and U.S. troops learn from Balikatan. Kasi isa din yung emphasis nila na parang bukod sa pag-test or part sa pag-test ng readiness of working together or working in defense of the Philippines together, ganun, no? Parang they also want to check daw if they have deployed the right assets to the right areas in the Philippines. When they say assets, that they mean not just yung hardware, not just the high-tech equipment, but also the personnel. If tama ba yung personnel dinideploy nila ng Philippines included in certain parts of the country to respond to specific threats that they have foreseen or they are planning for. Again, yung parating sinasabi or gas-gas na sinasabi dito sa Balikatan is that they're preparing for the inevitable. What is that inevitable? They technically do not, or they tend to not say it out loud. But in the context of the military, in the context of tensions in the West Philippine Sea, in the Taiwan Strait, the quiet part has been said out loud, especially by Pete Hegseth, who was here in the Philippines a few weeks ago. And even Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Chidoro has said it out loud. You know, the threat of China, not just in the West Philippine Sea, but even north of the Philippines. So, again, if you want updates on Balikatan and other security issues, not just for the Philippines, but the greater Indo-Pacific, Southeast Asia, download the Rappler app. We'll see you there. Again, this has been Bea Cupin. Tune into Rappler for more updates on Balikatan, and I'll be writing a story soon just to give you a better grasp on text of what Balikatan 2025 actually means for all of us here, even those who aren't participating in the yearly war games. Thank you for watching.